All right, so the nice thing about today is that there's nothing new, okay? We're just kind of pulling all of this together and making sure that we would know how to do all of the problems on the upcoming reviews. And there are multiple reviews coming up because this chapter is essential to your success the rest of the year, is knowing how to do this. All right, so let's answer this question up here. What is the very first thing we should ask ourselves every time we do one of these? Yes, we need to take out the GCF. Okay, so that's what we're going to do every single time on these problems. So is there anything we can take out of this one? Okay, so we take an A out of both of these terms. Okay, now we have two terms in the parentheses. So when we have two terms, it's most likely going to be what kind of problem? The very first kind we learned. Yep, so what are we going to do to the terms themselves in that problem? We square root them, not unsquare, we square root. That was creative, but not right. Okay, so if we're looking at this one, we have to keep the A out front. That doesn't just disappear magically. We've got 3y as the square root of 9y squared. Square root of 4 is 2. And then one of them is plus and one of them is minus. All right. Next one. What can we take out? Okay, so we'll do that. Negative 2x squared. What's left over if we do that? Okay, now what's in the parentheses is not in the order that we're used to seeing it. Okay, so let's rewrite it so that it does. We've got negative 2x squared. This should be x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, so now in the parentheses we have three terms. What do we always do when we have three terms? Draw an x. Yep. Hey, what goes on top? Yep, because it's a times c and 1 times 9 is 9. On the bottom? 6. What multiplies to 9 and adds to 6? So now we have our answer, x plus 3, x plus 3. Questions? Okay. The next one. When we have four terms, this is the grouping ones that we talked about in the last section. So right now, the way it stands, can we just group the two that are by each other and the two at the end? Yes, because why? Because there's things in common? Okay, so if we group these and group these, we would be able to take something out, the GCF out of each of those red parentheses. So what's the GCF in the first set? 2a is in common with both, leaving us with
3 plus
just b, right? All right, over here, what could we take out?
3c. No, 2c. That's what I meant.
2c, leaving us with
3c.
Now, well, we'll get there in a second. Okay, so what can we take out of both of these now? What's in common with the two terms?
3 plus b.
Yes, in this term there's a 3 plus b and there's a 3 plus b in that one. So we take 3 plus b out front and what are we left with? 2a plus 2c. Now, this problem is not done being factored. One of these terms could be factored a little bit more. Yeah, right here, there's a GCF we could take out. So let's pull that way out front. So we have 3 plus b. What's left in here now? A plus C. Good. So make sure it's completely factored to the smallest possible factors. Questions? We could have also taken that 2 out at the beginning because all 4 terms we could divide by 2, and we would have gotten to the same answer at the end. Okay, which we probably should have done because that's always our first question, right? What should we take out of the next one?
2.
Okay, so let's do that. Take a 2 out, we're left with a to the 8th minus b squared. Again, when we have 2 terms, what are we doing? We're square rooting them. So what do we get?
Bless you.
Bless you. Questions? We all are remembering this? What example have we not seen yet?
Lettuce.
Well, the window step one, okay? Now, this second one that we did was close to one of the window step ones, but why did we not have to do a window on this?
Because there's no thing in front of the.
Because
In front of...
You could take out x to the power 2.
Yep, and right here, there's not a coefficient written. If there is, then you do have to do the window step. Okay, which is not what we're going to do here. Because what can we take out here? 3. So if we take a 3 out, what are we left with? Minus 8x squared minus 9. Okay, now this one looks a little bit different than what we've seen before, right? There's a 4th and a squared instead. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to say that we're going to change the variable and say y is equal to x squared. So write that over to the side. If we rewrite this and substitute that in, we now have 3. Now this is y squared minus 8y minus 9. Okay, which is a little bit more familiar to what we can factor and what we're used to factoring. Okay, so if we're looking at this second one, we're going to come back and substitute this back in later, but we're going to solve it this way. So we've got negative 9 and negative 8. Negative 9 and positive 1. So we come back here. We've got y minus 9 and y plus 1. Okay, but now we're going to substitute back in what the original was, okay, which instead of writing a y, we're going to drop our x squareds back in. So we've got 3, x squared minus 9, and x squared plus 1. One of these we can factor one more time. Why can't we factor this one? Because of the plus. Okay, so if we break this one down, we've got what for those two factors?
3x plus 3 plus nx minus 3.
Those are the square root ones. Okay. We're going to review one of the window step ones, so we'll actually do one of your homework problems, so you won't have to do that one later. So we will do number 8. So when you get to number 8 on the homework, you won't have to do this one. We have 30 x squared y plus 5xy minus 10y. All right, so our first step always is what? What can we take out? So what can we take out? A 5y? Okay, that would be nice because that will leave us now with
36x plus 5x. Oh, just regular x. Wouldn't it be?
you're right.
I was only saying.
Minus
2.
2. Okay. So now that we have a number in front, we'll be doing the window step, but we still have to start by drawing an x. So how do we get this top number again?
X squared. Well, 6 minus 2.
Yep.
6 times -2.
Yep, a times c, so we got negative 12, and then b goes down here, which is 1. So what two numbers give us those answers? 4 and negative 3 would work for that. They multiply to be negative 12, and they add together to be 1. So now we draw our window. These two numbers that we just found go in these corners. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one. And then we put whatever variable is on our middle term, which happens to be x, on those numbers. The original goes along this diagonal right here. Okay, so we'll go, now the original isn't the original because we've factored out this 5y. So we've got 6x squared plus x minus 2. All right, now we just figure out what is the common factor that we can take out of each column and row. So if we're looking at these two squares, we have a 2 in common, 3 and x here, and negative 1. So our answer, again, most common mistake on these, on the test, the kids that don't get a perfect paper, is because they forget these numbers and letters that we took out originally. That's still part of your answer. And then we'll put down our 2x minus 1, 3x plus 2. That is the answer. So we got 2 terms, you're going to be doing square roots if you have a subtraction in the middle. 3 terms, you start with your x and maybe do a window step. 4 terms, you do your grouping. Questions? That's everything on the test.